Marauders, welcome back to the channel. This video I'm going to be installing the rock sliders on the 2024 Polaris Ranger XD 1500 Ultimate, and these are heavy rock sliders and the installation looks fairly simple. Those weigh over 45 pounds a piece, and I'm sure they'll do a great job protecting the rocker panels on the machine. Take a look at the parts. These brackets get mounted on the frame of the machine. They're the rearmost mount on the rock slider. So those get mounted on the frame. And then these expansion bolts get mounted on the frame underneath the rocker panel. And these are so much better than what Polaris had years ago. They had mushroom bolts that you'd use. They were one-time use only, and then you would lose you'd have to, if you took the accessory off, those mushroom bolts would rattle around inside the machine. Not a good design. These are an excellent design. I have various sockets, 16 millimeter, 13 millimeter, 10 millimeter, along with a wrench. My Milwaukee tools always use inch and 3/4 hole saw to drill out the hole for the rock slider mount to go through the plastic on the rocker panel. Various bolts. These are what mount these larger bolts. Bolts get used to mount the rock slider to the machine. These smaller 6 millimeter bolts get used to mount these brackets to the frame, and then these bolts, much smaller diameter bolts. These are the 6 millimeter bolts. These are the 10 millimeter bolts. These get used to mount these foot grips to the rock slider, which is nice. And I will be using Loctite. I'll break that out and hit these bolts up. So that's the hardware. Let's get to mounting this. The bed is nice to work off the machine, and these are very heavy. So I'm gonna put, a little out of order from the instructions, I'm gonna put the foot grips on first. And I did put Loctite on the bolts. Let's give you a look. So let's put the foot grips on first. These bolts have 10 millimeter, and the nuts are 10 millimeter. So let's get this easy step out of the way. That's on. So those are, I'll do the other one off camera. So raise the bed, figure out where these mounts go. The design of this thing is absolutely fantastic. So this is the first glitch in my DJI Osmo Action 4 camera. It went into slow motion and I lost audio. So this bracket behind the cab on this frame member, the holes are already drilled for this bracket, and the bracket has nuts on the back side of it. So these 13 millimeter bolts install very easily, and this is where the rear of the rock slider gets mounted to. So the body has dimples in it. The plastic part has dimples in it, and those are really helpful. So that's where you are going to drill out using the inch and 3/4 hole saw, drill out to create the openings in the body panels for the mounts to extend through into the frame. And in the frame, there's already round openings set up in the frame for these expansion bolts to go into. So this is boring the inch and 3/4 holes through the body panels. I don't know how many deburring tools I've purchased, at least 2. I can never find them, and it absolutely drives me crazy. So I have to use a Milwaukee cordless Dremel tool with a sanding wheel on it to sand off the rough plastic that's gnarled up after I bore it through the hole, and this works actually quite well. So this is just me cleaning up the hole with a Dremel tool and a sanding disc. So you want to get the expansion bolt set up at the end of the bolt and mount it through the rock slider and have just enough tension so the expansion bolt stays in alignment. So that's what I'm doing here, and it's easier. Clue, it's easier have the bolt so it goes in vertically. It just goes through the hole through the rock slider better, and it's just an easier process. I learned that on the next bolt. This view shows you through the body panel. I bored an 1 3/4 hole and shows you the cylinder circular section of the frame where the expansion bolt will expand and get seated into the frame, and this works very well with Polaris. Great design. So my expansion nuts are at the end of the 2 bottom bolts that go into those cylindrical frame openings, and this slides in very easily. I want to put in I believe it's a 15 millimeter bolt in the back that goes into the bracket I mounted on the frame. I want to do that first, so I get that snugged up. That was easy. Then there's a little bit of flex in the rock slider. I push it in with a little pressure, and then expand the expansion nut. You can see it move and tighten up. Not many spins for that to grab the side walls of that frame, cylindrical frame opening. And the rock slider is on. It went very smooth. The other side took me 17 minutes to install, and I've had this type of installation on other Polaris vehicles, and it is very strong, as are the rock sliders. Here's how the video would have been if I didn't speed it up. This is really slow motion, which I never use. There's a look at the rock slider installation. Very strong mounting system. As you can see, I step on the step to look into the box, and it is just impressive. Again, I've had these Polaris rock sliders on other vehicles. The rock slider is very strong. It protects not only the rocker panel on the machine, but also the doors, which are very expensive on a Northstar unit, probably $3,000 or more. And I'm a believer in rock sliders, bumpers, and of course you have to have a winch on a side-by-side. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider subscribing to my channel, and that's how we keep score. Liking the video, sharing with a friend, and I hope this helps you if you choose to install the rock sliders on your machine. It's very easy, and I'm sure you can do it. I have no doubt. Thank you, Marauders. I hope to see you on the trail.